Okay, now we have our excavated site, and so I've stuck the foundation into the model just so we can get a sense for the next moves here. Another thing I did is I actually created a copy of the footings and this sub-foundation wall and its footing below it, and made a copy that I could destroy basically, and I put that solid, those are solids, and I use solid tools. If you're not familiar with it, you can check out other videos on that, but trimmed the footing and the site together, which created these voids. So if I cut the foundation off, you can see all the displacement of the footings. So that just takes out that additional volume of soil. So just that much more accurate. So so there's the excavated site, and if I'm to click on that, I get a volume reported up here in cubic feet, which I can convert to cubic yards to see what the after is. If I cut on the proposed, or excuse me, the existing site and click on that solid, here's the volume of it, slightly higher, so I'm obviously taking dirt out, so I'll have to stockpile that dirt. So now I have those two volumes to give me a reference. I'm going to cut on the house model now, and the next step that I want to do to get the final grade here is I basically, I've already done it ahead of time, but I draw a line around the site of the house, around the onto the house model itself, where I want grade to be. And I draw a line. I'll start out by drawing two lines, and then I'll make it a group, and then continue editing and edit that group and continue drawing all the lines so that they become a group that I can later explode and not have to select every single one of those segments one by one. So I've already drawn a line around the perimeter where I want the final grade to be. You can see this garage footing in here. My next step in this house is I would backfill and then excavate for these footings to get back down to original soil. So that's why this footing is deep here, because it's going to be a trenched footing. So if I went underneath the ground, you can see how it's been stepped to fit down to original grade. So that gives me an accurate assessment of a takeoff for my concrete, and we'll look at that in a minute. We'll do the same sort of thing about intersecting it with the grade. All right, the next thing I do is, in this case, before I do the final grade around the house, I've tried a couple different methods for putting driveways in, and usually I just use the drape command, where I would take this two-dimensional shape for the driveway and copy it above the ground once I have the final grade in there, and then drape it to where it plops it down onto the site and cuts it in so that I can then paint it with the asphalt. But a lot of times that final grade, when I put that driveway down, it's got some dips and things that aren't that great looking. So I tried a different approach where I took this driveway shape that you see down below in the 2D and moved it up above, and I used the from scratch command. I won't get into that right now, but it's from scratch in the sandbox tools. It's where I created, and I'll cut this out, called site features. You can see how the driveway itself, I was able to manipulate the vertices in here and drop this where I wanted it here for this turnaround. It's going to be sloping downhill. Then right around in here, I rotated the rest of these vertices up so that it was like a hinge point in here to go up and fit the site. So I did that kind of crudely. The other thing is it goes right up to the garage slab, where the asphalt would tie right in flush with the top of the garage slab. In this case, there's no apron, just the asphalt's going to go right up to the slab. So I was able to control that versus dropping it down on the site. So this is something a little bit different. All right, so I took also this excavated site. I made a copy and a paste in place of it and named it proposed site, so that I could then alter. And I've had my existing site model, I'll have my excavated site model, and then I'll have my proposed site model. So I'll have three of them in here with the different volumes. So the next step would be to get the proposed contours, the proposed site model done. So then I can get the final volume to see whether I got to haul some dirt into this property, or if the dirt that's taken out of here is adequate to fill up the front and backfill with. So that'll be one of the things that I'm going to determine from this. So I've already started that, so I'm going to go ahead and cut off that site features, and I'm going to cut off excavated site, and I'm going to cut on the proposed site. All right, and one of the things that I had taken the time to do already is I had drawn that line around the house, or where I wanted the backfill to go. So if I cut off the house model, you'll see that I had already drawn that line around, and I got started on continuing those planes down, because now this was the excavated area that needs to be filled in. So we now want the new site model to go to these new lines to fill that in, basically to backfill. I also took the perimeter of the driveway that we had created before and gave that as all line segments, because we're going to use that to build the new grade up to it. The other thing I did is I took the subgrade of the garage and made that bottom, because this is where dirt needs to be backfilled into, and then I'm going to be digging back down for my footings and then using my gravel and steel on top of that. So that's the subgrade that I need to build up to. But what you see on these little side walls is the final grade, so that's the displacement that the garage would do. Another thing I did is I went ahead and predetermined I wanted to have these patios sort of tied together with some pleasing sort of grade right around the perimeter. Obviously we would drop it a slight bit for fall, but in this case it's level just for modeling purposes. So the key is that you want to get rid of all the hidden geometry, or not cut on hidden geometry. You want to view hidden geometry. We want to erase all the geometry that's around the house that we want to be backfilling. So if you're looking at it from this vantage point, I'm going to keep all this grade over here, but I'm going to backfill against the house and sort of, so I'm going to erase the geometry that's nearby. So I'm just going to start erasing. I take the, whoops, don't mean to erase the whole thing. You have to edit the group, and then I'm just going to start getting rid of the geometry that's around it. You got to be really careful not to delete, erase the geometry that's down below, down at the bottom there. The key is when you go back to build the new grade, as we saw before, you have to select all these bounding boxes, if you will, these edges, bounding edges. And so I want to have as few of those as possible, because it becomes really tedious to choose all those. Alright, I'm going to take it out past this turnaround area, because I want the new grade to slope from that turnaround back down to the existing grade. So all of this is coming out. This is the old excavated site, so we'll get rid of this because we don't need that any longer. Again, you just got to be careful of what you just get a little erase happy. See, I erased the wrong plane right there. You just got to really be careful of what you're erasing. Obviously we're filling this in, so we want to get rid of this geometry that's under the garage. We're also getting rid of the adjacent grade to the driveway. That's going to have to kind of fill up a little bit to get to that, so I'm going to take out just a little bit more. I think I could work with that. I'm going to go ahead and take out this one that's real close to the driveway. All right. I would think that that's probably pretty close, where I'll tie that grade right back down into there. So that's looking pretty good. All right. And again, this is the old excavation. So we're going to get rid of that. Take this grade out a little bit further. So that looks like that could fit. I'm going to take this, just a couple more of these segments out to make it a little bit smoother. Again, remember, you're going to be choosing all these individual segments by hand, so the cleaner it is, the easier it is. In this case, I'm going to take out some of this geometry so it can build up to my patio that I've got in there. So I'm taking out a little bit more geometry maybe than I need to. Just want it to be a little bit nicer of a transition. So that my grade will smoothly tie from here down a little bit further and sort of blend in. Okay. All right, now you see we've got the geometry erased all around the perimeter. Okay. So the next step is where it really takes a little bit of time here. We got to choose all the perimeters of these areas that we want to fill in. So we got to select every one of these lines. I'm going to actually save my file just because. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to select every one of these edges. So this will take a little time. I might speed up the video while this is occurring, but you just hold down the control and start picking all these bounding edges. You know what? I've made a mistake here. Before I get that far, I had made all these lines into a group to make it easier to select. So I forgot I needed to explode that group. So I'm going to edit and explode. Now all those are chosen. Not all, but yeah, most of those are chosen that we're going to need to create. So that just saved a little bit of time. Okay, now hold down Control and select all the other edges that you want to tie together. If you make a mistake like that, just hold down Shift and click on it, and that is a minus instead of the plus when you're holding down Control. Gotta be careful not to pick that ground that's down below, that's thousands of feet down below there. That's just the bottom of this solid that we've created. Okay, so it appears that I've got everything in blue that you're seeing here. I don't have this line segment selected, so I want to add that one. Again, it's getting kind of tedious, but it's worth it in the end. I want to do this arch of the grade that's there. Looks like we've got these segments, most of them, except for here, here, here. And that's going to be a little mulch bed that I've got in there. It looks like I'm missing just one segment. So you just look for all these edges in blue. And we got one that's up in here. And one that's here. For now, I'm going to go ahead and choose. This is where a porch is going, so I'm going to have some concrete that's going to displace some of that. But for now, I'll choose that. Okay, so from here it looks like everything that's in blue is the entire perimeter. So now we take a chance and we're going to hit the From Contours. Up in the Sandbox tools. So From Contours is going to put a new skin over that whole thing. Now you see it filled in the house and you got a lot of stray edges and things to get rid of, but you can delete all those. So we'll start doing that by hitting Erase. So first of all, this made it a group, okay? So you're already inside of this group. We want it to all be one. We can't have a group inside of a group or it will not report as a solid. So we're going to right click on it and explode it. And then I'm going to go through and erase I can already see where I've got a did not go into my you know, I'm going to back out of that. I'll clean that up in a minute. I'll make a new slope for that. That's where my patio is going to go. I should have selected something different in there, but we'll show you how we can clean that up. You can continue to make these from contours and just remember to explode them when you do. So it's added some additional planes where we don't want them. So we just delete those back out. So we want to get back down to that subgrade where we just had dirt. That's the new grade that's going around on our patio. Alright, this is all within the house. We know we're in the house. We want to get rid of all that. This is all inside the garage, so we get rid of all this. Okay. Now this area where the patio is going to go, I accidentally erased my subgrade there, but I'm going to build that back up. Alright, I want to have a base to this. So to do that, I'm just going to hopefully, there we go. That just gave that a bottom. And that's recessed out because I've got displacement for that concrete for the patio. Alright, it's getting there. This needs to be closed off right here as well. So again, we're painfully doing this so we can make this a solid. And there's going to be some extra geometry that we've got in here. TomTom's plug-in, the solid inspector, is invaluable. Because if I reported this right now or tried to make this a solid or click on it, it's not going to be a solid. That was a mistake. So there's going to be some extra geometry that we're going to have to get rid of along the line. And it's hard to find that on your own, but that solid inspector does a great job of pointing out what's wrong. Some of it you can see from underneath too. If you see these lines overtaking one another, then something is amiss. Takes a little bit of practice too, but it's well worth it in the end. All that should be back down to that white versus green to show where it's new, and here we got some duplicate faces too. We shouldn't be seeing any of that in green. Can't explain why it does some of these things, but it does. it's getting pretty close. Just going to go back out of that for a second and cut on the house model and just see how we're doing with the grade around the house. I'm going to eventually paint all this back to grass and make the driveway be asphalt. But it looks like it's fitting the grade pretty good. There's the backfill against the house, against the garage. Gets us a swale around here to get the water out of here. It looks like we got some odd geometry going on in here, but now you can see how we've backfilled around the house. Okay. So I'm just going to continue to do some cleanup in here to get it to where it's solid. See, right now, if I was to click on this, I don't have a volume being reported up in there. If I cut off hidden geometry, it's looking pretty good, but it's not a solid, so that we're not getting any reporting out of it. If you're just doing this for modeling purposes, you're fine. But for me, I want to have an amount. So I'm going to click on this solid, and I'm going to use, under Tools, I'm going to use the old Solid Inspector. The new one, Solid Inspector 2, actually will automatically fix a lot of things. But Solid Inspector, the previous one, I'm still learning the new one. But the old one, if I was to click on this, you can see everything is highlighted that's wrong. Otherwise, you would never be able to find this on your own. So you just start fixing all the mistakes. There's some duplicate edges. If there's anything out of place, if there's one hair sticking up out of this property, like a line segment or something, it will not report as a solid. So I'm going to just spend some time working on that, and then I'll come back to you. Use Solid Inspector, which is a great plug-in to identify every one of the little errors that was in there. It's easy to get false geometry or little odds and ends, and if you didn't have Solid Inspector, it would make the process a lot more difficult. But I'm going to click on that now on this group, and I can see that I've got a volume, large volume here, but in cubic feet, 169.5020. When I cut on existing site and click on that solid, I'm 169.1020, ironically, 4,000 cubic feet, and 4,000 cubic feet. Divide that by 27 is 148 cubic yards. So I'll get maybe 13 yards on a truck. That might be 11 truckloads of dirt that I need to bring in, or I might be able to make do without it. But it's a great little tool for me as a builder to understand. All right, the next thing I'm going to do is finish making this thing look pretty by making this back to being grass and making the driveway asphalt. Then I'll add the other elements like the the mulch around the house. So basically, to do that, I've got to come in here, and actually this driveway should have cut as its own surface, so I'm going to back do that by dropping the driveway onto that and see if that will work. So for now, I'm going to make this whole surface the same as the grass with one click there, and then I'm going to drop that driveway on top of that grade. In fact, we'll try that right now. Take this driveway, it's a group as it is now, and I'm going to move copy just just above it. Alright, and then I'm going to select the drape tool and choose this solid down below to drop it onto, and hopefully it will do so and be asphalt down below there when it's all said and done, or have cut it. So I'm going to edit this group. And it did not do that. It put a hole in there for some reason. Huh. Let's undo that. Alright, I had to do it the old-fashioned way, so I just painted all those pieces of hidden geometry back to being asphalt. Alright, so now I'm going to cut the house model on just so we can get a feel for this thing. So it's looking pretty good as far as the grade around the house. Only thing I've left to do now is add in, I could add the cul-de-sac up in here if I wanted to, but I'm going to take the mulch that we see down below. I'm just going to pick one of them to start with just to see how she works here. So I'm going to take this little blip right this area here. Let's just take them all. I'm going to take this one. That's all the mulch beds, and I'm going to do a move copy. Actually, since I'm inside there editing, I'm going to copy that and then get out of the edit. Then I'm going to paste in place. Then I'm going to move it on up. Making sure I'm in the blue axis here. There it is, way up there. A little higher than it needs to be. Get rid of this driveway because I'm done with it. And I'm going to save my file because, again, good practice. Alright, now that I've got my mulch bed sort of floating above the ground, I'm going to select those, and then I'm going to use the drape command to plop those on down to the ground below, which should hopefully give me nice mulch beds, but we'll find out if it doesn't blow everything up. You can see the imprint down below that it looks like it's been successful. I'm going to use the paint bucket tool and copy that mulch pattern down. Then when I come in here to edit this surface, see, now I've got it cut out the surface properly for mulch. Didn't do like that one. Let's see if it likes that one. Okay, let's see if it likes this one, but it's joining it, so we'll have to fix that. Okay, we've got this area here which looks a little tricky. It's a 3D mouse that I'm moving around with, so it gets a little sluggish sometimes. Okay, so that's now mulch. This area over here I don't have any mulch, so I'm going to make that grass. Somehow it's created this little void in here, so I'm going to fix these things and come back to you. Alright, so now we've got mulch and driveway and enough where we could do some nice renderings and presentations and do some animations over in Lumion. But that gives you an idea of a site model using SketchUp. Hope you enjoyed.